phenomena, and the Adi-yajna, the foremost of all inner energy beings, attain me even at the time of their departure. Now here Arjuna asks Lord Krishna and says, O Supreme Divine Personality, what is Brahma? What is spirituality? And what is action? Along with these, he also wants to know the meaning of Abhibhuta and Adideva. After hearing these terms, a great personality like Arjuna has raised questions. Then, what can be said about a commoner in the present age or the dark age? What are the possibilities that he will understand the deeper meaning of these terms? Therefore, one has to read the sayings of Lord Krishna, which is Bhagavad Gita, to uncover this deep secret. Arjuna here questions, O Madhusudana, who is Adi-yajna, and how he resides in this body. He also wants to know how one who has a steadfast mind will attain Lord Krishna, even at the time of his departure from this world. There is no comparison of the knowledge that Krishna has bestowed on us through Bhagavad Gita. This knowledge shows light to an ignorant person in the darkness and encourages him to move forward. However, the questions asked by Arjuna seems as if he has removed the stumbling blocks from the path to facilitate a commoner to walk without any difficulties. Here, stumbling blocks are the doubts that arise in the intellect. Everyone will agree with Arjuna's questions. The question asked by Arjuna, that how a person who continuously worships Lord Krishna could attain Krishna even at the last moment of his life, is indeed enthralling. Lord speaks. Arjuna had questioned that who is Brahm? Here, Lord Krishna says, the supreme, indestructible entity is called Brahm. Many people fail to comprehend the complete form of Brahm. Everyone presents his or her thoughts regarding the same, but the light which is emitted from the body of God is called Brahm, which is indestructible and supreme. It never alters. The dwelling of this Brahm in the entire body is spirituality. We can say the experience of the form of soul is spirituality. For karma or action, Lord Krishna says that the activities related to this material or physical manifestation of living beings is action. In short, whatever deeds a person performs using his body becomes action. The renunciation arising in living beings that expresses its existence is called action. So here, Lord Krishna has answered all the questions related to supreme indestructible entity, spirituality and action. Now Lord Krishna told Arjuna that the destructible physical manifestation is called Adhibhuta. Every object of this world is destructible and subject to change. In its comparison, the grand form of God that includes all the celestial gods like the sun god and the moon god is called Adideva. Previously, it was that a creature that has forgotten its real identity because of the influence of the physical world is a part of the superior nature of God. It is because of this ignorance about its true identity that he remains trapped in the cycle of birth and death. Now Krishna says that one who dwells inside this creature as the all-wise is me. In short, God is saying that he is Adi-yajna, the one who resides inside the soul of all living creatures as the supreme entity. Lord Krishna is also the presiding deity of all sacrificial fire rituals. He is the head of this entire creation. Along with this, it also becomes clear that Adideva is superior to Adibhuta and Adi-yajna, or Sri Vishnu is superior to both. In the second verse of this chapter, Arjuna asked how one who has his mind steadfast will attain Lord Krishna even at the time of his departure from this world. So, in that context, Lord Krishna here says there is no doubt that a person who leaves his body at the time of his death while thinking about me attains me. Here, Lord Krishna says this so that none of us should have any doubt regarding this, like Arjuna. At the same time, the sayings of Lord Krishna gives courage to an ordinary person that there is neither any harm nor can it happen if he takes refuge in Sri Krishna. Lord Krishna says to Arjuna, O son of Kunti, whatever a person remembers while giving up his body at the time of death, he attains the next life form or body based on the same. If he has thoughts about Lord Krishna, he will attain Krishna. With this verse, we also get a glimpse of the modus operandi of the nature that rotates a creature within 84 lakh different forms of life. It is the thought that arises within the creature, and he leaves his body while thinking about the same at the time of his departure to get another life form. Lord Krishna himself controls the operations of this system of nature with his immense power. So, people must understand this and should take the right decision of taking refuge in Lord Krishna, and only then will they get liberated from the cycle of birth and death. Krishna has given answers to all the questions asked by Arjuna. So here he says, you always remember me and get ready for the war. He says clearly that focus your mind and intellect within me, and then you will surely attain me. The divine knowledge of Sri Krishna is not only for Arjuna, but for all the creatures who are in this physical world. From the sayings of Lord Krishna, it is also apparent that he is not advising Arjuna to abandon his action. Instead, he is saying that Arjuna must perform his prescribed action while fixing his mind and intellect within him. By following this advice, he will be free from all the sufferings of this physical world. In this verse, Lord Krishna says to Arjuna that a person who continuously remembers me with a steadfast mind without being disturbed because of any situation attains me at the time of his death. For the steadfastness of the mind, God has emphasized the path of meditation, as without the same, it is not possible to control the wandering mind. If the mind is wandering, a person can never perform any action with devotion towards any subject. In such a scenario, no question arises about remembering Lord Krishna. A person has something when he profoundly thinks about the same. So, why should a person not meditate upon Sri Krishna with a steadfast mind? In this verse, Lord Krishna is explaining the qualities of the Supreme Lord, who is omniscient, eternal, supporter, subtler than the subtlest, the defender of all, inconceivable, radiant like the sun and beyond all the darkness of ignorance. It is vital to understand all these qualities so that there remains no doubt afterwards, especially the inconceivable quality of the Supreme Lord. It means that it is not possible to understand Lord Krishna by imagination, ideas, or arguments. He is beyond the scope of our material mind. Here, omniscient means one who knows everything, and supporter means one who holds the entire universe. Further, Lord Krishna says to Arjuna that if a person meditates upon the Supreme Lord while keeping his life breath fixed between his eyebrows with his power of yoga and steady mind at the time of his death, he attains the divine Supreme Lord for sure. Here, the power of yoga has found a place because without practicing yoga, it is not possible to focus the mind. The mind is very playful, so there is no possibility that at the time of death a person could steadfast it in God. However, with the power of yoga, this is possible. With its help, it becomes easy to remember Lord Krishna at the time of death. Here, the objective of the verse is not to discuss the qualities of the Supreme Lord, but to inform all that what happens when a person worships Lord Krishna with complete devotion. What result did he obtain at the time of leaving his body? That meditation should be practiced for attaining the Supreme Lord is also mentioned. Here, Lord Krishna says he will explain to Arjuna the element which the scholars of the scriptures describe as imperishable. It is the same element to enter which great ascetics and sages practice the vow of celibacy. Lord Krishna says to Arjuna that now I will explain in brief about the desire with which the sages practice the vow of celibacy. In short, he will explain the reason for which some people practice the vow of celibacy or renounce all worldly desires or define an element as imperishable. For an ordinary person, it is tough to understand the root cause behind a large objective, especially when it is about the objectives behind the lifestyle of sages and ascetics. The lifestyle of an ordinary person anyway differs from these people, so they must understand how a saint alienates himself from all worldly affairs or why he practices the vow of celibacy. Here again, the discussion is on people who at the time of their departure from the physical world remember Sri Krishna and attain him. So now in this verse, we must understand the method that has been explained by Lord Krishna to Arjuna. Lord Krishna says, one who, while closing all the gates of his body, keeps his mind steadfast in the heart, and then draws his life breath to fix it in the head, to get established in the yogic concentration, attains the supreme goal. He is also the one who utters the syllable Om and leaves his body while remembering me. In this verse, Om is the Brahm in the form of a letter. Also, yogic concentration means the state of yoga in which a sage moves away from all his senses. He abandons his attachment towards all objects of senses. Then his mind becomes steadfast for Lord Krishna. Here, attaining the supreme goal means attaining the spiritual world. Here, Lord Krishna says to Arjuna, O Partha, I am easily attainable for a person who thinks of me with an uninterrupted mind. In other words, I am easily accessible to my pure devotees. It is noteworthy here that a pure devotee here is the person who only thinks about Krishna and does not think about anything else. He has no attachment towards any object or material of this physical world. He keeps his mind absorbed in Lord Krishna. Such a pure devotee has attachment only towards Lord Krishna. According to the sayings of Lord Krishna, he is easily attainable to such devotees. In this verse, Lord Krishna says to Arjuna that the great soul who attained me becomes free from the cycle of birth and death. He then never experiences the sorrows of this physical world. Lord has explained this world as fleeting, unstable, and temporary. The mortal world is the home of miseries. Here, the cycle of birth, aging, disease, death goes on. Here, every creature is under the control of nature and tied up by rules of discipline. Nature is immensely strong, and it is not easy to defy the same. So, people must understand the objectives of their life and take refuge in Lord Krishna. because only then will they get liberated from the sufferings of this physical world. Great souls who sought the love of Krishna attain supreme enlightenment. Apart from this, there is no other simple way. From the wisdom imparted here by Lord Krishna, we come to know that not only on the earth, but the abode of the Brahma, which is perceived as the higher world, is also subject to the cycle of birth and death. So, even the desire to attain the abode of Brahma is not enough. There is a possibility of downfall even in that world. So, Lord Krishna says, "O Arjuna, however, on attaining my abode, there is no further rebirth. One who reaches my abode never goes back to the world of miseries." From this verse, the difference between the abode of Lord Krishna and Brahma becomes quite apparent. None of the abodes are higher than that of the abode of Lord Krishna. So a person must take refuge in him. In the last verse, Lord Krishna discussed the abode of Brahma and things related to the same. He also says that the cycle of birth and death continues in that world. Now, here, while talking about the Brahma, Lord Krishna says to Arjuna that the yogi who knows about the duration of 1 day and 1 night of the abode of Brahma understands the time. He says that 1 day in the abode of Brahm is equal to 1,000 eras. In the same way, the duration of 1 night in the abode of Brahm is 1,000 eras, which implies that when an entire cycle of Satyuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapar Yuga, and Kala Yuga gets completed, the full span becomes 1 day of Brahma. Now you can understand that 12 hours of the day of Brahma comprised of the entire time duration of the 4 yugas. So, as per calculation, it stands at approximately 8.60 crore years. A yogi knows this vast difference in time between the two worlds. Here, Sri Krishna says, when a day of Brahma starts, all living creatures emerge from the unmanifested all. With the advent of the night of Brahma, all living creatures again retreat into the unmanifested all. They then get dissolved. Here, unmanifested means invisible. All living creatures manifest and unmanifest as per the advent of day and night in the abode of Brahma. Here, Lord Krishna again says what he had said in the previous verse. He says that multitudes of creatures emerge with the advent of Brahma's day. They get dissolved on the arrival of the cosmic night. Lord Brahma himself performs actions as per the direction of Lord Krishna. The only difference is the time cycle in his abode is longer than that on the earth. Now, Lord Krishna discusses about a nature that goes on for eternity. It has no beginning or an end. This kind of nature doesn't manifest and unmanifest with the advent of day and night of Lord Brahma. According to Lord Krishna, apart from this unmanifested nature, there also lies an unmanifested expression of an endless nature. This fact implies that the nature about which the Lord is talking is eternal. The superior material energy nature of Lord Krishna is also endless. In chapter 7, there was a discussion on superior nature and inferior nature of Lord Krishna that continue to exist even after the destruction or dissolution of the mortal world. In this verse, Lord Krishna talks about his supreme abode and the supreme goal of living creatures. Here, Lord Krishna says to Arjuna that the unmanifested and eternal, which is also the supreme goal of all creatures who do not want to return to the mortal world, is my supreme abode. He clearly says that once a seeker attains my supreme abode, he becomes liberated, not only from the cycle of birth and death, but also from this manifested and unmanifested nature. Here, the discussion is on exclusive devotion. It means a kind of devotion that is only for a certain God. Here, Lord Krishna says to Arjuna that all creatures are under the supremacy of Lord Vishnu, and it is in him that the whole universe resides. Along with this, he also said that exclusive devotion is the path to attain Lord Vishnu, the Supreme Divine Personality. It is only by following this path that one can attain the Supreme Divine Personality, or one can also say reach the supreme goal, that is Krishna. This supreme abode of Krishna is entirely different from the mortal world. One who attains that abode gets absolute liberation from all the sufferings of the mortal world. In this verse, Lord Krishna presents the form of time. To Arjuna, he says, "O the descendant of the great King Bharata, there is a period during which, if a yogi leaves his body, he has to return to the earth." In the context of this period, Lord says to Arjuna that now I am going to describe that. It is vital to think here about how many of us try to comprehend this period. We complete our tasks as per the moving needles of the clock, but never think that what time is. It may not be known to an ordinary man that there is a correlation between returning or not returning to the earth after death. Rare is the one who knows the significance of time during the final departure from the earth. But in the next verse, Sri Krishna will explain the same to Arjuna. While describing the period during which, when yogis leave their bodies, never return to the earth, Lord Krishna says to Arjuna, if the person who knows the Brahm abandons his body by fire, light, or during the bright lunar fortnight, or in the 6 months of the northern solstice, he attains the Brahm. He then gets liberated from the cycle of birth and death. Lord Krishna here says that the yogi who abandons his mortal body by smoke, darkness, during the dark fortnight of the moon or 6 months of the southern solstice attains the land of the moon, and after enjoying the fruits of his virtuous deeds has to return on the earth. Thus, from the earlier verse and this verse, we not only came to know about the light and darkness, but also came to know about some circumstances during which, if a yogi leaves his body, then one can know about his fate. Also, it becomes apparent that however higher is the land of the moon, he has to return back to the earth. This is the reason why Lord Vishnu is said to be the supreme goal of human beings. We all have heard about the bright lunar fortnight and dark lunar fortnight. However, nobody knows that these are the two paths to leave the mortal world. A bright lunar fortnight means human beings that leave their bodies during this period do not have to return to the earth. But those who leave their bodies during the dark lunar fortnight have to return back on the earth. He has to again become a part of the cycle of birth and death, which is the bondage for all creatures, and also the cause of miseries. A person can come out of this mess by taking refuge in Lord Krishna, but can get liberated from this mess forever by attaining the supreme goal. Now in this verse, Lord says to Arjuna that the yogi who knows both these paths never get bewildered. So, O Partha, you should remain in yoga. Here, yoga means union with God in every time period. He should not get deluded on having a knowledge of these paths. Instead, he should continuously make efforts to remain engaged in attaining the divine love of Sri Krishna. Only such an emotion can steadfast him and can encourage him to go in the direction of supreme enlightenment. Here, Lord says to Arjuna that the yogi who knows the secret of the existence of these two paths gain merit far beyond the fruits of Vedic rituals, the study of the Vedas, austerities and charities. Such a yogi reaches the eternal and supreme abode. Performance of Vedic rituals, the study of the Vedas, austerities and charities are also mediums to reach the supreme abode of Lord Krishna. However, a person does not need to engage in these acts if he takes refuge in Lord Krishna. By the grace of God, he also gets the same fruit of merit that he can have by performing all these acts. This implies that whoever goes into the shelter of Lord Krishna experiences no loss and finally attains his supreme goal at the end. With this verse, chapter 8, Akshar Brahma Yoga, the path to the eternal God, thus concludes. In this chapter, Sri Krishna gave the answers to Arjuna's questions related to Adibhuta, Adideva, and Adiyagya. He also answered who is Brahm. The discussion is also about the qualities of the Supreme Lord and the form of the time period.